Hello, my name is Maria Vardalà and I am a PhD candidate at the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki. My presentation refers to works drawn by female authors of the Renaissance that could serve as teaching material for the course of Latin. In the Greek high school curriculum, students that major in humanities study certain courses that constitute their material for the state exams that will give them access to university faculties. These courses are ancient Greek, Latin, history, and modern Greek. The material related to the first two courses is very specific, since the students are asked to answer questions regarding translation, etymology, content comprehension, grammar, and syntax of the ancient texts. For both courses, the corpus of those texts is also very specific, since the suggested texts cover some literary areas, mainly written in prose. About Latin, the two manuals used in the classroom as a guide to study the language include a variety of passages from several works related to history, politics, or epistolography. Each passage is carefully selected by the editors of the two volumes in order to use it as a basis for every grammatical or syntactical phenomenon they want to teach in each unit. Moreover, for all passages, there is a note that provides important information about the context or the content of those texts. Among the names of the ancient authors that were selected for shaping this material, the following appear: Servius the Grammarian, Cicero, Pliny the Younger and the Elder, Sallust, Seneca, Mucius Scaevola, and Titus Livius. All these figures that appear in the school book have one main thing in common: they are all men. Apart from a few passages that refer to women and tell their story, there is no other reference to the female figures of the time, neither of their works written in Latin, despite the fact that there are plenty and that women have produced works in every literary genre. During the years of Renaissance, women managed to secure a place for their own writings in prose and poetry. They were intelligent figures with a profound knowledge of the ancient Greek and Latin and the literature and were able to produce their own corpus of works written in almost impeccable Latin. Such figures were, for example, Angela and Isotta Nogarola, Battista da Montefeltro, Costanza Varano, Ippolita Sforza, Cassandra Fedele, Laura Cereta, and many more that left a significant mark on the history of letters. Thus, a teaching suggestion is to add passages from their works to the school manual provided for the Latin course that would offer to the students the possibility to get to know all those female authors who contributed to the enhancement of this particular ancient language at a time that Latin was used only by highly educated people for their private writings as well as in official documents. There are hundreds of writings that would serve as teaching material in the classroom. The following suggestions are based on the literary genre to which each one belongs, as well as the style and language that they use. Thus, the selected works are the following: four hexameters composed by the humanist Angela Nogarola for Antonio Loschi, an epistle written by the humanist Costanza Varano for Isotta Nogarola, an oration delivered by Ippolita Sforza before Pope Pius II, and the famous dialogue between Isotta Nogarola and Ludovico Foscarini about the original sin. The Veronese humanist Angela Nogarola was a notable female figure of the Nogarola kin who produced many important literary works, especially before her marriage. She was in contact and influenced many women and was a disciple of another humanist, Antonio Loschi. To her teacher, she is dedicating the following four hexameters. As the editor Abel informs in his commentary about Angela's hexameters, this short poetic work is written by the author while she was a young girl or an adolescent, namely long before her marriage. As many pupils of her time, who were following a humanistic curriculum, she decided to experiment on the language and style and to compose those verses in school Latin. Although short, the dedication serves as a fine example of the poetic expression of women who were well educated and had themselves studied the Latin language in the same way the current students are approaching it. The author is in her early youth, namely at about the same age as are the students that would study it, and this element could even serve as an incitement for them to look at Latin not as a stale system of words and grammar, but as an instrument to be creative like Angelo Nogarola. Engaging into an epistolary activity was very common during the Renaissance, not only for men but also for women. Among the many examples of such activity, one can find the epistle written by the humanist Costanza Varano addressing another important female figure of her time, Isotta Nogarola. The following passage reflects the admiration of Varano for Nogarola's devotion to her studies. The entire epistle and the passage on its own are very important for several reasons. First of all, the students will dive into the epistolary tradition that was well developed during Renaissance. Intellectual men and women who were exchanging their ideas and opinion about social matters or about questions related to theology and philosophy. Another important fact is that the epistle is written by a woman addressing another intellectual of the same sex, exalting her for her many virtues, her profound knowledge of the ancient sources and her devotion to her cause. In addition, the students have a chance to realize that humanistic studies had a real meaning. The profound knowledge of a variety of literary sources and the ability to use them appropriately in order to build an argument was this meaning of the humanistic studies. In this case, in just a few lines, Varano refers to Lactantius Firmianus, Ciceron, Quintilian, which proves that the female writings can definitely shape a corpus of well-written works that would provide a good understanding of the female education of the time. Finally, in terms of context, the students will have the opportunity to study some interesting historical events, such as the social limitations that women had to face and the sacrifices they had to endure. Paving their own path with a complete freedom was out of the question, and if they were opting for the literary world, those women who had this option, they should remain confined in a convent or in their households. All this would provide the students with a complete image of the female education during Renaissance. For women, delivering an oration before a crowd full of men who were holding political or church positions was quite rare during Renaissance. The few orations delivered by powerful women who were descendants of dominant families in their regions indicate their desire to become part of the social and political matters and offer their own perspective. However, this was a challenging decision and did not always have the desired outcome for them. The following oration is an example of such a piece, delivered by the young Ippolita Sforza, member of the leading Sforza kin, daughter of Francesco Sforza and the Duchess of Milan Bianca, during the Congress of Mantua in 1459 and before the illustrious humanist Pope Pius II. This passage is a fine example of female writing and especially of composing an oration that was intended to be delivered in person before a significant audience. Its writer is making use of many stereotypical formulas that the humanists used to apply on their works. The students therefore have the opportunity to study how the humanists were styling their writings and how they were decorating their speech with specific words in order to express their respect and admiration, and also to praise the figures they were addressing. For example, they were using adjectives in a superlative, or a sequence of words that would satisfy the humanistic formula of self-deprecation on one hand and of exalting the addressee on the other. One of the most famous female writers of the early Renaissance is the talented Veronese Isotta Nogarola. She composed tens of epistles, orations, and other works that show their incredible intellect and ability to state her opinion with a well-built reasoning, based on her profound knowledge of the ancient Greek and Latin sources, as well as the religious texts. Her greatest work is a dialogue between her and the humanist Ludovico Foscarini, which was later edited and published by the latter. The content of this dialogue has to do with a most difficult question in theology: who sinned more, Adam or Eve? Those who will study this text, or even a passage of it, will easily realize Isotta's acuteness in all of her replies. Moreover, the students will be presented with a significant piece of the humanist era, which reflects and discusses deep social issues: the female nature, the place of women in society, free will, and above all, sex equality. The following passage is just a token of Isotta's ability to provide well-composed arguments based on literary sources. The entire dialogue would serve as a great teaching material, not only for the course of Latin, but also for a debate project. The two interlocutors, Ludovico and Isotta, have both mastered the language and its expressions and distinct traits in style, and they use it as a weapon for their reasoning, cleverly unfolding all their arguments. The way that they synthesize their ideas is reflected also in the syntactical order of their speech, which makes all meanings clear and difficult to refute. As a result, the debate keeps the audience agile and offers the opportunity to its readers to think of all those significant issues that they unfold before them. As it becomes obvious, there are many works that can be used as teaching material in the classroom. Studying the female writings is necessary, since it is the only way to know and to understand how women were engaging into the literary activity. The above-mentioned works are just a small part of the female literature and reflect the female skills in creating equally important works for all literary genres. Finally, it is necessary for the students to know that not only men but also women were able to express their ideas and point of view about social issues, and to realize that studying a language is not tied only to grammar and syntax, but it also refers to the culture and the ideas that are connected to it.